Praxeology, action, lambda omicron gamma omicron sigma talk, speech is the deductive study of human action, based on the notion that humans engage in purposeful behavior, as opposed to reflexive behavior like sneezing and inanimate behavior, according to its theorists, with the action axiom as the starting point. It is possible to draw conclusions about human behavior that are both objective and universal. For example, the notion that humans engage in acts of choice implies that they have preferences, and this must be true for anyone who exhibits intentional behavior. The most common use of the term is in connection with the Austrian School of Economics, as established by economist Ludwig von Mises. Origin and etymology. Coinage of the word praxeology is often credited to Louis Bourdeau, the French author of A Classification of the Sciences, which he published in his Théorie des Sciences, Plan de Science Intégrale in 1882, on account of the dual natures of specialty and generality. These functions should be the subject of a separate science. Some of its parts have been studied for a long time, because this kind of research, in which man could be the main subject, has always presented the greatest interest. Physiology, hygiene, medicine, psychology, animal history, human history, political economy, morality, etc., represent fragments of a science that we would like to establish, but as fragments scattered and uncoordinated have remained until now only parts of particular sciences. They should be joined together and made whole in order to highlight the order of the whole and its unity. Now you have a science, so far unnamed, which we propose to call praxeology, or by referring to the influence of the environment, mesology. However, the term was used at least once previously, in 1608, by Clemens Timpler in his Philosophiae Practici Systema Methodicum. In this work, Timpler, when examining ethics, goes on to say, the general ethics falls into two parts, 1. Haritology and 2. Praxeology, i.e. of virtue and of their action. This distinction between the moral actions of the virtues seems a novelty, but it's necessary, however, because the habit of virtue and the move to action do not coincide. It was later mentioned by Robert Flint in 1904. The popular definition of this word was first given by Alfred V. Espinasse, the French philosopher and sociologist. He was the forerunner of the modern Polish school of the science of efficient action. The Austro-American School of Economics was based on a philosophical science of the same kind. With a different spelling, the word was used by the English psychologist Charles Arthur Mercier and proposed by Nye Dunlap to John B. Watson as a better name for his behaviorism. Watson rejected it, but the Chinese physiologist of behavior, Xing-Yang Kuo, adopted the term in 1935. It was also used by William McDougall. Previously the word praxeology, with the meaning Espinasse gave to it, was used by Tadeusz Kotarbiński. Several economists, such as the Ukrainian Eugene Slutsky, used it in his attempt to base economics on a theory of action. It was also used by Austrian economist Ludwig von Mises, Russian Marxist Nikolai Bukharin during the Second International Congress of History of Science and Technology in London, and Polish scholar Oskar Alonghi in 1959, and later, the Italian philosopher Carmelo Ottaviano was using the Italianized version Praxeology in his treatises starting from 1935, but in his own way, as a theory of politics. After the Second World War, the use of the term praxeology spread widely. After the emigration of von Mises to America, his pupil Murray Rothbard defended the praxeological approach. A revival of Espinasse's approach in France was revealed in the works of Pierre Massé, the eminent cybernetician, Georges Théodule-Guilbault, the Belgian logician, Leo Apostel, the cybernetician, Anatole Rapoport, Henry Piron, psychologist and lexicographer, François Perroux, economist, economist, the social psychologist Robert Davel, the well-known sociologist Raymond Aron, and the methodologists Abraham Antoine Moles and Roland Cord. Under the influence of Tadeusz Kotarbiński, praxeology flourished in Poland. A special center of praxeology was created under the organizational guidance of the Polish Academy of Sciences, with its own periodical, called at first materially Praxeologiczna, and then abbreviated to Praxeologia. It published hundreds of papers by different authors, and the materials for a special vocabulary edited by Professor Tadeusz Olowski, the leading praxeologist of the younger generation. A sweeping survey of the praxeological approach is to be found in the paper by the French statistician Michel Petrozowicz, Apropos de la Praxeology. Ludwig von Mises was influenced by several theories in forming his work on praxeology, including Immanuel Kant's works, Max Weber's work on methodological individualism, and Karl Menger's development of the subjective theory of value. Austrian economics. Austrian economics relies heavily on praxeology in the development of its economic theories. Ludwig von Mises considered economics to be a subdiscipline of praxeology. Austrian school economists continue to use praxeology and deduction, rather than empirical studies, to determine economic principles. Advocates of praxeology also say that it provides insights from the field of ethics. Categories. The categories of praxeology: the general, formal theory of human action, as outlined by Murray Rothbard, are as follows: A. The theory of the isolated individual. B. The theory of voluntary interpersonal exchange. 1. Barter. 2. With medium of exchange. A. On the unhampered market. B. Effects of violent intervention with the market. C. Effects of violent abolition of the market. C. The theory of war, hostile action. D. The theory of games. E. Unknown criticisms. Thomas Mayer has argued that the Austrian economists' rejection of the scientific method, which employs positivism and empiricism in the development of theories, invalidates Austrian methodology. Austrians argue that logical positivism cannot predict or explain human action, and that empirical data itself is insufficient to describe economics, which in turn implies that empirical data cannot falsify economic theory, and that logical positivism is not the proper method of conducting economic science. Economist Mark Blaug has criticized over-reliance on methodological individualism, arguing it would rule out all macroeconomic propositions that cannot be reduced to microeconomic ones, and hence reject almost the whole of received macroeconomics.